Wuthering Waves is known for its dynamic combat, but sometimes their most difficult content can be a little too difficult. While taking the time to observe and learn each boss is the way to overcome these challenges, sometimes we simply don't have what it takes to just simply get good. Thankfully, there are many ways to mitigate the difficulties of these challenges, and of course, we are talking about the holograms. You can mitigate damage through shielding, which is the same as increasing your maximum health bar, and you can also employ unique tactics such as decoys with also, and of course, you could do the technique of unleashing on the enemy and ceasing all movement. My name is Void Enigma, and I'll be talking about the 3 gems in Wuthering Waves that make the boss in these holograms a joke. You will be able to ignore all of the gimmicks and overcome these challenges with ease. I'll show you how to string together some amazing combos and take out these holograms that may be challenging you. Make sure to subscribe and like the video if you're enjoying the content, and let's get right into it. Now the thing about holograms and Wuthering Waves is that these bosses have ways to one-shot you, and it's not fun when you're unable to avoid those one-shots. The thing about these fights, however, is that mostly, they're just heavily telegraphed fights allowing for the skilled player to dodge or fight them. Okay, the Morning Act just shot 80 lasers from out of nowhere. Anyway, most of the bosses have very distinct patterns that you can easily overcome when fighting them. For instance, the monkey's entire moveset is the exact same for the first half, and it leads into the exact same concepts for the second half of the fight, no matter what you do. It will not change the same perpetual motion of attacks, so once you memorize exactly how this operates, then it becomes a breeze. With enough attempts, anyone can overcome these bosses as long as you have the characters geared up. As you fight these bosses over and over again, you begin to learn exactly how and when to dodge them, and this is just a learning curve to actually beat these bosses. But, you know, spending about a day to fight a boss may not be everyone's forte. Forte, see what I did there? Now let's talk about the gear before we actually talk about the cheese. Before we begin, do not attempt Hologram 6 without a full team of level 90s unless you are 1. A masochist who enjoys the pain of fighting the same entity 3,000 times, 2. A sadist who enjoys putting these scrawny bosses into their place, or 3. A dummy who doesn't know what the hell they're about to experience. These bosses are level 100, so the lower your level, the less damage that you'll actually deal to them, and the more damage that you will take from them. If you want to stand a chance, you will need to raise your damage dealer's level to the highest that they can be. In addition, your characters need to have good echoes. All of their echoes need to be maxed, and for your damage dealers, you need to have them optimized with at least 60% of the effort into the echo optimization. I'll be creating an entirely new video discussing this method and it's coming soon, but a basic summary of it is, Carlotta needs 3 stats: crit, resonance skill, and attack. Energy recharge is also a bonus and it's recommended to have at least 1 or 2 energy recharge substats. When you're gearing your characters for endgame, each echo needs to have at least 3 of these stats to be considered usable. To be suitable, then you need to have 4 of these substats, with crit rate and crit damage being mandatory. Of course, if you're efficient at the gameplay mechanics of Wuthering, you can avoid a lot of the gearing requirements, but this should be your standard. 3 useful substats per echo piece and have them maxed out. If you're confused about this, then I definitely have an echo video coming shortly, and it should be linked right up there if it's not already. But TLDW, make sure your echoes are properly geared and fully leveled. Now as for your character's forte, maxing out your damage dealer is heavily recommended, but leaving your damaging skills at level 8 is suitable to give you a good chance. Now that we've got gearing out of the way, let's talk about the big 3. I dub these 3 the ones who cheese. And while I'm dubbing these resonators, you can go ahead and like this video and subscribe if you're enjoying the content. S.C.X, Spectro Rover, Carlotta, and Xiangli Yao. Not all of the cheeses are created equally, and to be honest, we can all agree that Spectro Rover isn't the best here, but with the new buff, she is at least a suitable character to assist in this cheese: time manipulation. This is the tactic that we'll be able to use with these 3 characters to help you get the edge on these holograms. If you combine quick swap methods, you can essentially get in free damage without any risk or danger. It's actually amazing to put the momentum back into your favor, and it can really save your ass for these hologram fights, especially when you're using Carlotta. Carlotta's resonance skill will completely stop the enemy's movement for a few seconds as she does her flip over there, and during that entire animation and even on the way down, the enemy is completely and utterly immobile. This works on every boss and any enemy and is actually pretty damn amazing. Xiangli Yao's Residence Liberation has a time slow, and after he gains 3 stacks, each of his enhanced skills, Law of Rain, will stop the enemy from taking actions as well. Spectro Rover has a time stop with her outro. While it is hard to take advantage because it's tied to an outro, it can be quite useful to trigger, and it'll stop the enemy from moving as well. Combining all 3 of these makes this team surprisingly versatile. Now, I don't expect you to use Spectro Rover, but you can at least use Carlotta and Xiangli Yao. As long as the enemy is not resistant to Glacio and Electro, you can deal a ton of damage through quick swap methods with these 2 characters. It's insane. I suggest using a healer alongside these 2. I've learned that a lot of people are, allergic to quick swap, as evident in my previous videos discussing this topic, but this team will thrive if you learn how to quick swap. Like, here's an example. If I use Carlotta's Resident skill, the boss is slowed and I can deal some damage, and that's fine, but if I use Carlotta's Resident skill, then swap to Xiangli Yao during his liberation to get off a Law of Rain and do his whole combo, and then I swap back to Carlotta to actually use her enhanced heavy attack, then that's going to be a lot of extra damage instead of just letting Carlotta simply flip over the enemy. And you get 2 time stops. Being able to use this to your advantage is a huge help against these holograms. If you want to know how to quick swap with Carlotta and many other teams, then check out these 2 videos here. Like, being brutally honest, some bosses are completely simplified with a quick swap team. If you trigger outros and move a ton around the map, you can avoid taking damage, and with so many attacks going off at once, you're going to be parrying everything that comes your way. This can greatly ease the stress of combat. For instance, the Thundering Memphis, I'm able to completely parry everything and avoid all of the damage thanks to a Xiangli Carlotta quick swap team. Of course, I'm also paying attention on when to dodge the big hitters, but when actually parrying, I'm able to just easily quick swap and hit each of the parries, and I'm able to clear this without even getting hit. With Xiangli Lotta combos, you can stop the boss from moving for about 3 seconds each time that one of your characters acts, and this can help you avoid 90% of their gimmicks that the boss is going to throw at you. You can keep up the pressure on the boss, instead of the boss keeping up the pressure on you. Combine this with the fact that you're at least trying to learn some of the boss's mechanics, you can have a very easy time with all of these holograms. There is one issue though. What are the boss's resistance to Xiangli Yao or Carlotta? You see, my Carlotta is pretty cracked, but my Xiangli Yao could use a little bit of work, mainly because he's missing a signature weapon and his forte isn't maxed. Even so, the holograms do actually have a timer, which is normally way more lenient when compared to stuff like Tower of Adversity, but the timer does exist, and if you aren't dealing enough damage, then you could time out, and with a dual DPS comp, you do want both characters to do substantial damage. These bosses' resistances are actually substantial. Like, if you go in with a boss that actually resists your damage, you will not even notice them doing damage, and you may as well not even use them. You can, of course, rely on one of the character's damage to supplement this, and that is definitely possible, but against something like this boss here, where I don't have my Xiangli Yao fully maxed out, it can be difficult to use him alongside Carlotta, because Carlotta is going to be hitting like a wet noodle. Keep in mind that there will be more characters capable of immobilization, and when they are released, you'll be able to combo way more teams than what we have available now and take on any hologram. Another tip is that no one is going to shame you from actually using items in these holograms. You can, and should, be reviving your characters mid-fight if you think that you can actually finish the fight, and healing. You can easily do this to actually extend the hologram fights, and make sure that you're able to clear these bosses, and trust me, with the one-shots and stuff in here, use that to your advantage. You don't have to have a perfect run like you see all these other people doing. So if you're stuck on these holograms and are casually banging your head against the brick wall trying to overcome these challenges, try the Carlotta Yao combo and it will be a breeze. Why learn the mechanics of a boss fight as intended by the devs, when you could cheese your way out of it by simply stopping the time for the boss? Go ahead and like the video and subscribe if you enjoyed it, and thank you so much for watching. Until next time, Enigma out.